Hollywood's golden age sparkled with so much glamour that many believed its stars lived in a perfect realm of beauty and wealth. Yet beneath those studio lights were ruthless competitions, secret grudges, and alliances formed in smoke-filled offices. Few rivalries captured that intensity better than the ongoing clash between Bette Davis and Joan Crawford. For years, these two icons shared headlines, spurring whispers of catfights, backhanded compliments, and strategic sabotage. Even decades after both women took their final bows, observers still debate whether their feud was genuine or fanned by a publicity machine hungry for sensational conflict. Some folks say they were just strong personalities clashing in an industry too small for both. Others claim deeper grudges, unresolved from stolen lovers to stolen roles, piled up until civil talk was impossible. On top of that, rumor had it that the studios might have manipulated their animosity to keep film fans enthralled. One way or another, Bette and Joan gave Hollywood watchers enough drama to last a lifetime. So, was their animosity real, or just a cunning show for the tabloids? As we take a closer look, you'll see that sorting fact from fiction in this story can be tougher than any script the two legends ever tackled. No feud unfolds in a vacuum, especially not in old Hollywood. From the 1920s to the 1950s, the studio system dominated film production. Major players like MGM, Warner Brothers, RKO, and 20th Century Fox owned not only the movies but practically the stars themselves. Contracts bound actors for years, often including strict morality clauses and intense scheduling demands. If you upset the wrong executive, your career could nosedive. On the other hand, if you played your cards right, you might snag the best roles and a generous paycheck, though always under the studio's watchful eye. Within this environment, gossip thrived. Columnists like Hedda Hopper and Luella Parsons fed hungry audiences tidbits of celebrity drama. A leaked rumor about a star refusing a role or insulting a co-star could spark headlines across the nation. Public spats became gold for studios hoping to generate buzz for upcoming films. Some producers even believed that a well-timed controversy could boost box office numbers. That meant real conflicts often got magnified. If two actresses were seen exchanging frosty glances on a set, the next day the tabloids might scream about catfights and vicious rivalries. Then fans ate it up, pushing interest in either or both stars' next releases. Bette Davis and Joan Crawford found themselves right at the center of that swirling ecosystem. They started in the 1930s, a time when the Great Depression still gripped the country, and people flocked to the movies for solace. Audiences wanted captivating, larger-than-life figures to distract them. Studios, eager to deliver, signed performers who radiated star quality, and both Davis and Crawford had that glow in spades. Trouble was, the same system that nurtured them also pitted them against one another. With each actress angling for prime scripts and top billing, tensions rose whenever they crossed paths. This was the stage upon which an unforgettable feud played out. Before Bette Davis became an Oscar-winning powerhouse, she was just Ruth Elizabeth Davis, born in Lowell, Massachusetts in 1908. Her childhood wasn't as tumultuous as some Hollywood stars, but it wasn't exactly carefree either. When her parents divorced, she moved around, searching for a sense of stability. By her late teens, she discovered theater, a place where she could channel her intensity. She studied at various dramatic institutions, determined to master her craft. That determination often came off as arrogance to those who found her relentless drive off-putting. Warner Brothers eventually offered her a contract, but at first, she struggled to find her footing in the big studio environment. Her looks weren't the usual classic beauty mold. Colleagues privately whispered that she had bedroom eyes, but some executives dismissed her as not glamorous enough for leading lady roles. Davis, however, refused to accept minor parts. She pushed and argued, sometimes openly criticizing the scripts Warner Brothers handed her. That boldness paid off. By the mid-1930s, she scored roles in edgy dramas like Of Human Bondage, 1934, and Dangerous, 1935, which earned her first Academy Award. Her greatest strength lay in breathing life into complex female characters, women who were often ruthless, driven, or deeply flawed. Audiences were not used to leading ladies who sneered, cried, and manipulated with such conviction. Yet for every standing ovation she got behind the scenes, there was friction. She became known as someone who'd clash with a director if she believed a scene was poorly shot. If a co-star didn't meet her standards, she might press them to rehearse endlessly until the spark appeared. Some loved her for this relentless professionalism. Others disliked her for making waves in a system that expected female stars to be compliant. By the time Joan Crawford entered the same orbit, Bette Davis had fashioned a name as a no-nonsense actress, always pushing for better roles and better scripts. She was the kind of star who'd go to court to get out of a lackluster contract, famously suing Warner Bros. In 1936 for control over her career choices. Though she lost the lawsuit, she won respect as someone who refused to stay silent when she felt exploited. This fearless streak would be both an asset and a catalyst for trouble once she found a rival equally determined to stay on top. While Bette Davis grew up in the Northeast, Joan Crawford's origins tell a different story. Born Lucille Fay-Lesueur, likely in 1904, though she'd later shave a few years off, she spent her early life bouncing from one financially strapped situation to another. By her teens, she was dancing in traveling revues, forging a path out of hardship. Her big break arrived when an MGM scout caught sight of her striking presence. The studio demanded she change her name to something more marketable. Thus, Joan Crawford emerged, soon appearing in silent films that showcased her flair for glamour and motion. Her determination was legendary. Early on, she was known for spending hours on the dance floor at nightclubs, using them as a stage to build her image. She'd watch how others dressed, how the wealthy behaved, then incorporate it into her persona. This constant reinvention of wardrobe, accent, mannerisms proved vital. MGM recognized her as a star in the making, and roles in popular flicks like Our Dancing Daughters, 1928, made her a box office draw. By the 1930s, she was a bona fide leading lady, admired for her style and sophistication. Joan also had a reputation for micromanaging every aspect of her look. It's said she would personally pick out costumes, lighting angles, and even camera lenses that best flattered her features. Some directors found this meddling intrusive, but she believed it was part of maintaining her brand. Behind the scenes, she didn't shy away from forging alliances with producers or stepping on toes if it meant securing a coveted role. She battled stereotypes too. As she aged, the industry tried to pigeonhole her, yet she fought to remain the glamorous star audiences worshipped. When Bette Davis rose to prominence on the Warner Bros. Lot, Joan had already conquered the MGM scene. Their paths didn't overlap much initially, but tabloids saw them as two strong-willed stars inevitably heading for a collision. If they ended up chasing the same script or the same romantic prospect, sparks would undoubtedly fly. Joan's relentless ambition to stay on top, combined with Bette's crusade for artistic respect, set the stage for what might be the ultimate Hollywood standoff. According to Hollywood lore, the seeds of hostility took root in the 1930s, though the exact details remain murky. One version has it that Bette Davis harbored feelings for actor Franchot Tone, her co-star in Dangerous. Joan Crawford allegedly swooped in, showering Tone with attention. Some say it was genuine affection. Others claim it was an orchestrated move to rattle Bette. The result? A quick engagement between Joan and Franchot, leaving Bette reeling. She never publicly admitted heartbreak, but her anger toward Joan supposedly deepened. Whether or not this romantic drama directly started the feud, rumor mills thrived on it. Gossip columnists crafted headlines about Crawford's cunning coup and how Bette seethed at the betrayal. People whispered that if Joan was in a film pitched to Bette, Bette would refuse the project outright or demand script rewrites. Meanwhile, if Bette snagged a prestigious role, Joan might slyly hint to the press that she was approached first and turned it down. Each star had loyal fans and studio allies who further fanned the flames of distrust. Legendary quips added fuel to the fire. Bette's infamous remark claiming Joan had slept with every male star at MGM except Lassie epitomized the personal sting in their jabs. Joan allegedly retaliated by criticizing Bette's eyes, calling them like physical events, implying they overshadowed her co-stars. Some question whether either woman truly uttered these lines or if tabloids invented them for cheap drama. Either way, the public ate it up, forging an image of two divas locked in an epic battle of wits, barbs, and career sabotage. Through the late 1930s and 1940s, both women continued to climb in Hollywood, collecting accolades and high-profile roles. Bette Davis scored success after success with films like Jezebel, 1938, and now Voyager, 1942. Joan Crawford countered with Grand Hotel, 1932, The Women, 1939, and later Mildred Pierce, 1945, which snagged her an Oscar. Their consistent achievements meant they rarely crossed paths on the same sets. Yet rumors persisted that each one rejoiced whenever the other stumbled. If Bette's film underperformed, insiders would claim Joan joked about it at parties. If Joan's acting was panned by critics, Bette might supposedly drop a sly comment like, "Well, what did they expect?" Industry professionals sometimes tried to pit them against each other for publicity. One executive allegedly floated the idea of casting them together in a drama to exploit the friction. Scheduling conflicts, or perhaps common sense, prevented that plan from moving forward, at least temporarily. Meanwhile, the tabloids pounced on any minor event. If Joan switched to a new hair color, or Bette turned down a script that Joan then accepted, it became the day's top gossip. Rival fans took sides. Some insisted Bette was the real actress with genuine talent, while Joan was just a glamorous show pony. Others claimed Joan embodied star power in a way Bette never could. Behind this feud, there was an undercurrent of practicality. Both stars understood that public interest, whether positive or negative, kept them relevant. Even if they privately loathed each other, the consistent buzz around their rivalry meant people were talking about them. At a time when new faces entered Hollywood each year, staying in the public eye was crucial. Were they truly at each other's throats? Or was it part strategy, part genuine conflict? The line between performance and reality in Tinseltown was never straightforward, but that wasn't the whole story. By the early 1960s, both Davis and Crawford found themselves older in an industry that prized youth. Strong lead roles for women over 50 were scarce, and each needed a project that could invigorate her career. Enter Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, a macabre thriller about two aging sisters living in decaying Hollywood glory. Director Robert Aldrich took a gamble, casting these notorious rivals as on-screen enemies. The production's press campaign practically wrote itself, teasing that life might imitate art once the cameras rolled. Almost immediately, sparks flew. One anecdote. During a scene in which Bette's character attacks Joan's, rumor had it Bette kicked with real force, causing Joan genuine pain. Another story claims Joan placed weights in her clothes so that when Bette dragged her across the floor, Bette's back would be strained for days. Whether these stories are exaggerated or true, they ignited a media frenzy. Journalists camped on set hoping to catch real-life catfights. Each actress gave polite, guarded interviews, but behind the scenes, they allegedly traded snide remarks about one another's performance and demanded changes to the script or shooting schedule to ensure they weren't overshadowed. Despite, or perhaps because of, this tension, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane emerged as a critical and commercial triumph. Audiences relish seeing two formidable actresses deliver powerhouse performances in a twisted narrative. Bette Davis earned an Academy Award nomination for her role, fueling the rivalry yet again. Joan Crawford, snubbed by the Oscars that year, purportedly orchestrated a move to ensure she'd be the one on stage if the winner was absent. When Anne Bancroft's name was announced for The Miracle Worker, Joan strolled on stage to accept on Bancroft's behalf, effectively robbing Bette of any spotlight she might have had if she'd won. That moment has gone down in Hollywood lore as one of the pettier acts of revenge, though defenders argue Joan was merely doing a favor for Bancroft. Either way, the film rejuvenated both careers and re-established them as headline grabbers in a new decade. Although Baby Jane was a hit, it didn't repair the personal rift. In fact, it seemed to confirm that pairing these two was a recipe for explosive drama. The success led producers to propose another project, Hush, Sweet Charlotte, initially intending to cast both again. Joan Crawford eventually backed out, claiming illness. Skeptics speculated she faked the entire ailment to avoid more on-set clashes with Bette. Others say Bette's behind-the-scenes meddling, including rewriting lines to favor her character, was the real reason Joan walked. Their public sniping continued in interviews. Bette made cryptic remarks about how some co-stars could never be called professionals, while Joan retorted with sly references to certain hags in Hollywood. Fans ate it up, and reporters kept them in the news cycle with bold headlines about round two of a feud that never quite died. Beyond the barbs and alleged sabotage, they remained two icons navigating a rapidly changing industry. By the late 1960s, the studio system was in decline. Younger stars and directors were rising, and old-school glamour was waning. Yet the Davis-Crawford feud held strong in collective memory, symbolizing an era when star power could dominate the screen and each other. Some who knew them claimed that in private, both occasionally expressed grudging respect for the other's talent, but that never stopped them from capitalizing on the feud's publicity. Even in their twilight years, each woman gave interviews that reignited bits of animosity. No official reconciliation ever took place. Crawford passed away in 1977, Davis in 1989, and the feud was never publicly settled. Their conflict seemed to transcend mere personal issues, standing as a larger statement on how Hollywood manipulated powerful figures for sensational headlines. You'd think the story would end once both stars were gone, but ironically, the feud found new life in the decades that followed. Biographies, documentaries, and retrospective pieces frequently name-check Bette and Joan's rivalry as the quintessential Hollywood war. Then came Ryan Murphy's 2017 anthology series, Feud, Bette and Joan, which introduced the saga to younger audiences. Starring Jessica Lange as Crawford and Susan Sarandon as Davis, the show dramatized the making of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, exploring how personal insecurities and industry pressures collided. Some critics applauded the series for offering empathy to both actresses, portraying them as products of a system that thrived on competition and pitted women against each other. Others argued it still sensationalized their hostility, playing up the drama for modern binge watchers. Yet it was a major hit, sparking fresh discussions about whether these two icons were truly at each other's throats or if the feud was an exaggerated narrative thrust upon them. Old interviews resurfaced online, letting fans dissect every gesture and offhand comment for clues about genuine animosity. In the last few years, newly released letters or rummaged archive files occasionally pop up, shedding more light on their behind-the-scenes conduct. While nothing definitively proves they were forced into a fake rivalry, many documents suggest the studio heads and gossip columnists certainly had incentives to keep fueling the fire. The more fans argued over who was right or wrong, the more tickets they purchased, ensuring both stars stayed profitable. But that wasn't the entire truth behind it either, as eyewitness accounts confirm there was at least some real friction, enough that directors dreaded putting them together in the same production again. Decades have passed since these two powerhouses ruled Hollywood, yet their feud endures as a symbol of that glittering era's darker edges. Look at any modern coverage of star rivalries, and you'll see references to pulling a Davis and Crawford whenever two celebrities clash in public. Their story resonates because it reveals how an industry built on fantasies can also cultivate deep resentments. The same public that worships stars for their beauty and talent can devour them in tabloids, turning personal tensions into worldwide fascinations. Bette and Joan both left behind extraordinary bodies of work, from Now, Voyager to Mildred Pierce, from All About Eve to Possessed. Critics still hail their performances as examples of timeless acting. Yet ironically, many fans learn about them first through the lens of the feud, an ongoing spectacle that overshadowed not just their artistry, but their personal struggles, achievements, and vulnerabilities. In a sense, the rivalry itself became its own legend, entangling truth with myth. So did they really despise each other? Or was it a mixture of real gripes and studio-fueled drama? The likely answer is somewhere in the middle. Both were strong, ambitious women vying for the spotlight in a cutthroat era. They had very different styles. Bette was blunt and brash, Joan was polished and calculating. When their paths collided, friction was almost guaranteed. Yet every glare, every rumor, and every sarcastic comment was amplified by a system that devoured gossip. This cycle of animosity and publicity fed upon itself, ensuring it wouldn't fade even as the decades rolled on. That's why the Davis-Crawford feud keeps capturing imaginations. It's more than a catfight. It's a window into how Hollywood built up icons, pit them against each other, and profited off the spectacle. Each generation that uncovers their saga gets to debate whether the feud was orchestrated or organic, and to marvel that two actresses from a bygone era still command so much attention. Perhaps the final lesson is that in a town driven by illusions, sometimes the greatest performance isn't on screen at all, but in the stories we continue to tell about its biggest stars. And that's exactly why we remain entranced by the saga of Bette Davis versus Joan Crawford, a Hollywood legend that shows no sign of losing its grip on our collective curiosity.